Welcome to Petite Professionals. Today we have Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get started. And can you share with us what your job title is?
Yeah, so I like to call myself a jack of all trades. I've had a couple of career changes in my life, but currently I am an attorney here in the southeastern Wisconsin area. And I also own a business that is called Made for More with my husband. But most of my time is filled with that attorney work. As you can imagine, being an attorney takes a lot of time.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you don't have a lot of downtime. Uh,
Definitely not.
we'll have to circle back on that because I'd love to know how you recharge. But first and foremost, attorney sounds like a lot of schooling. Um,
Yeah, so not to go too much into my past, but I had a 4-year degree for my prior career. So I used to be a 911 dispatcher and a police officer.
wow.
And I did that for about 5 years. And then I decided to go back to school. I loved the job, but it was really hard on my body and my physical health. And so my husband and I were kind of like, let's go back to the drawing board. What did you always want to be as a little girl? And I was like, well, besides being a pop star, which every little girl wants to be,
Of
um,
course.
an attorney sounds great. So I started working in a law firm first to make sure that it was what I wanted to do because law school is a lot of time and a lot of money. And it was exactly what I wanted to do. I really wanted to be in the space of helping people and creating change. So I applied for law school. I got in, and it was about 3 additional years. So it's a total of 7 years of school, a bachelor's degree plus 3 years of school.
Okay. Wow. So it sounds like, I mean, you went from one career that is very demanding and would you agree, like high stress a little
Yes.
bit, and
Yeah.
then being an attorney, I could assume there's a probably some stress with that too. So what do you do to kind of reground yourself and give Sarah some time?
Yeah. I'm not perfect at it. I will say that. I don't think anyone is. It's like a constant growth journey, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but I am really big in finding what works for you. So what has worked for me over the years has been actually diving into like holistic modalities. Like I am a certified breathwork practitioner and I utilize breathwork on
Ooh.
myself. I'm also certified in Reiki and I go to Reiki um, sessions where I have Reiki used on me. So there's like this, people think like I'm this weird person because I have this holistic mindset, but that I'm also very left brained, attorney minded, all of that sort of stuff. But I think it's this perfect balance, which allows
Yeah.
me to be in this space where I'm healthy. I also take care of myself just physically with working out and walking. Walking is my favorite thing to do. Being in nature, grounding in nature, being around water, those type of things. So I think for every single person, it's something different. But thankfully, in my young age of late 30s, I have figured out what works for me at least.
Yeah, no, I like asking that question because you're right. It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
And I like what you said too, is it changes. Like my one consistent is going on walks, like even just like around the neighborhood, just to kind of just remove myself from whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
No, I think that's good advice. And then, so if you don't mind, like what back in the day made you want to be an attorney? Like what attracted you to that field?
Yeah. So I could talk about this for hours and I won't. But I grew up in a very difficult, tumultuous household. So I have 5 siblings. My mom and my dad were not of a very healthy mindset, is kind of how I describe it. There was a lot of drama, a lot of trauma in our household. My dad ultimately ended up being arrested when I was very young and spent most of his adult life in prison after that. And originally, seeing him getting handcuffed and taken away, a lot of people would think like, "Oh, that's so traumatic." For me, in the headspace I was in, it was a relief. I knew that our family was going to be sent on a different trajectory without him being present anymore. That being said, that was what led me to want to be a police officer at first, like
Okay.
because. So backing up, I thought law and being a lawyer would be really cool, but we did not have a lot of money. We were very poor. And so I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to afford law school. So what can I do instead? And that's where I was like, okay, police officer. I saw these policemen come and put him in handcuffs, put him in a car. And that was the first time I felt like someone was helping our family.
Mhm.
And so I stepped into that energy and that space, and it was amazing. But I felt like being a police officer was very reactive. You're getting a phone call after something has already happened. You're getting to
Mhm.
help for this tiny little piece of time, and then you don't get to see the end result. Like you don't get to
Sure.
know what happens.
Right.
And when I decided to become a lawyer, I got to see how you get to follow a family along on their journey for much longer. You
Mhm.
get to help implement change by drafting court orders or stipulations. I do a lot of child focused work, so guardian ad litem work or family court work, juvenile focused work. And so you get to follow along on this growth journey and these 2 or 3 or 4 year long processes where you really do get to see the effects of your work, even if it's not for the rest of their life. You do get to see how these tiny little, sending a family to family court counseling or sending a child to therapy, you get to see the change, even if it's
Yeah.
just a little bit. And so that was really a driving force for it. And I hope one day to maybe be able to make a few law changes and legislative changes down the road and things like that. Those are like big dream goals way up here. So.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing the background, and it really showcases how passionate you are about it. And I love that you do stuff with children. I think that's awesome. So thank you. So tell me a little bit about this CEO director business that you do with your husband.
Yeah, so Made for More started as a passion project, and it was under a different name. It was a women's only coaching business, basically, where I helped women going through a really dark time because I have gone through dark times in my life. And I never wanted anyone to ever feel alone. Like, that was my big thing. Like, you are not alone in your journey. I promise you, if you're feeling a certain way, at least one other person in this world is feeling the same way as you.
Yeah.
And I realized very quickly that like talking to somebody one on one like this is great, but you can make a greater impact by like hosting events and bringing people together in community. And
Sure.
so my husband and I started hosting events. And then in 2023, I had this shift where it was a women's only event, but I had probably 4 or 5 different men reach out to me and say, I'm not trying to be creepy, but there's nothing like this for men. Can we attend the event? And I was like, I'm not going to tell you no, just please don't hit on the women. Don't ask for
Yeah.
phone numbers, like that type of thing. And it ended up, yeah,
Etiquette.
yeah, it ended up being this beautiful experience. Like the women felt very safe with the men that were there. The men got to see women's perspective that maybe they never had before. And that was when my husband and I had a conversation and I was like, can we partner together in this? You come on board. We rebranded to Made for More, and it became our business, our partnership, where we are helping community come together and really just grow and heal and move forward into like their next level. So it's not focused on your past. It's not focused on where you came from. It's focused on where you want to go. We are all made for more than these glass ceilings we set on ourselves and the stuff society tells us that we are. Um,
Mhm.
the diagnoses we've had, the criminal records we have, the things we've struggled with, we're all made for more than that. So how do we identify your more?
Mhm.
What is that for you? And then how do we get you there? Like, what practical tools do you need to get you there? Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to start a nonprofit. Maybe you just need to partner with somebody to help write a book. Like, whatever that is, we bring in speakers or experts in their career field to help connect you with those people so that you can create the steps to be your more.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So when someone wants to attend one of your events, do you post on social media and your website? Like, how do you communicate it?
It is mainly social media. We have a
Okay.
website, but it's not super updated. We're working on that, but it's mainly social media driven. So we have an Instagram, we have Facebook.
Okay.
That's where most of our projection of events and things like that are.
And then with the events, are they typically in like southern Wisconsin or whereabouts? Or
Most of
what?
the time, yeah, most of the time the in-person stuff is in Southeast Wisconsin, Milwaukee area, Milwaukee, Waukesha. We do some stuff online as well. So
Oh,
like in
nice.
October, we have an online like summit conference that we're doing.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I do need to know, like, with going back to school as an attorney, what what was that process like applying to school, and if you could just give some insight, because I think for me personally, like when I'm in grad school, I there was a lot of unknowns of how to even like go about it.
Oh, um, so going back to school, especially as an adult, I think is scary, just so you know. But I'm a firm believer that it doesn't matter what your age is, it doesn't matter what your background is. Like school is amazing, and if you have this drive to do it, you should do it. So I just want to plug that in there. Like you're never too old to go back to school. My husband is turning 50 this year and talking about going back to school. So you're never
Love
too.
it.
Um, but that being said, I had no idea how to apply to law school because it's very different than maybe just like an undergrad program or a 4-year degree or a graduate program. So I had to do some research. Now for law school specifically, there's a test you have to take, like a pre-test called the LSAT, to even like get a score to then apply. Kind of like taking an ACT or an SAT. Um,
Sure.
and so I had to learn where those tests were being taken, when to take it, sign up for that test, get that score, and then use that score to apply it. So there's all these steps that you have to take. But I would say right now, with the age of technology, like Google is your best friend, and
Mhm.
figuring out the school you want to go to and then what it takes to get into that school is probably the easiest way to go, instead of casting your net wide and being like, okay, I want to go to law school, how do I do it, being like, I want to go to this law school, what are their requirements, and then checking off those boxes. That was way easier for me, because each school has different requirements.
Sure. No, that's good advice. Thank you. I know that you are wearing a sash right now, and you are part of the USOA system. So if you don't mind, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about pageantry.
Yes, yes, I love that. I am Mrs. Southeast Wisconsin. Very fitting, right?
Yeah.
That's where all of my work is done, in the United States of America system. This is my second year in pageantry, so very new to it. I have not been doing this type of thing my whole life. I just started last year, so.
What brought you into pageantry?
Um, when I was a teenager, I actually used to get the flyers for the National America Miss stuff all the time. And I was like, oh, that would be so cool. But growing up in the environment I grew up in, there was no way I could have done it. I was in cheerleading in high school. I was the cheerleading captain, and I had to pay for everything myself. I had 2 jobs just to be able to afford like the normal stuff teenagers do, because my mom couldn't afford it. And no, nothing against her. Like she did the best she could with what she had. But in order to do those type of things, I had to pay for it. And so there was no way I could have done that on top of it. So it was like this little dream that was in the back of my head. And I had met a couple of women who I admire a lot. Andrea Weissman, who's the current USOA Mrs. Wisconsin, and Robin, and a couple other people. And like, I met them and I was just like, oh, that's awesome for them. Like, didn't even cross my mind about me doing it. Like, I was just like, so cool. Like, and I had to sit down with Andrea at one point and I was just like, you know what? Like, now is the right time. My daughter is now 19, but at the time she was 17, turning 18. My husband's daughter had moved out of the home. Like I finally felt like I could do something for me. Um,
Sure.
I I finished law school. I started in my career. I was like, okay, things feel good now. Uh,
Yeah.
so I just threw my hat in the ring. Like I'm not one to hold myself back. When I get that little, I call it a God wink. When God is
Mhm.
telling me to do something, that something is for me, I'm going to do it. I think another driving force, to be quite honest with you, was I have a lot of insecurities. There's a lot of women out there who have insecurities, and I do too. I'm not like this, 110-pound tiny little woman. And so I wanted to prove to myself that I had the courage and the confidence to get on stage looking the way I do, in a swimsuit, and do it anyway. And I did.
No, I something that I draws me to pageantry is it makes you look at yourself in all different ways, right? Like every area of competition you have to prep for. So for me, like just mental health, right? Like, okay, how, like making time for myself, like having a platform. There's just so many areas that you get to do like self improvement. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, that's a huge reason why I keep coming back. And then like the friendships, like you were talking about, like Andrea and Robin, like you meet so many amazing women. And for me, it's hard to meet friends as an adult, right? You have like your normal routine. And it's so cool that pageantry just kind of gives you all these women that are also driven
Yeah.
and also want to like do good by themselves, by their family. And it's just, um, there's a lot of wins in pageantry.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think
love knowing why people got into it.
Yeah, I think like one of the things that surprised me the most about the process is, and when I talk to people about it, that surprises them is I thought I would be more self-critical of the way I look by getting into pageantry, right? But it has helped me learn to love myself in all stages of where I am.
Mhm.
In a way that I didn't think was possible. You know, I have some autoimmune stuff that creeps up. And so my weight fluctuates and my face gets really swollen with different medications. And instead of dreading those days and like looking at myself and being, oh my gosh, I hate the way I look today. Like I've learned to love myself in those moments because of just the way pageantry kind of changes your mindset. Like you show up no matter what, even on the bad days, and it's okay to be honest and vulnerable and be authentic and true. And it's just different than what I thought it was going to be, and I think different than what a lot of people think pageantry is like.
Mhm. I really like what you just said too, because to keep people engaged and want to do pageantry, I think it's important to be authentic and show like, hey, I'm not always feeling my best, or that's unrealistic. And then I feel like sometimes when we just show the wins, right, then I feel like then it feels unattainable and like people aren't going to go for it. So um of course, I know I like to focus more on the positives on my social media, but like I think it's good. You know what I mean? Like I think it's good to be real and be true to like who you are, because it's important that women realize like it's not a perfect time to do a pageant. Like it's life, and there's so many wins with it, through friendships and self development too.
Yes.
And you USOA last 2 years. This is your second year competing this fall.
Yes, this is my second year.
Okay, and USOA, I'm assuming because Robin was Ms. Wisconsin, right? And then
So
Andrea, Mrs. Wisconsin.
So yes and no. So they were involved in USOA, so that's what kind of drew me to researching USOA first. But
Sure.
I looked into other options, and nothing against any of the other pageants. It just the mission of USOA aligned with like my mission with Made for More and how I show up in the world.
Yeah.
The most, I think. And so I actually looked into probably 6 or 7 different systems because to be honest, I knew Andrea was competing again, and I never wanted a friend to feel like I was competing against her. And she never did. Like when it came down to it, we were on the stage together, cheering each other on, holding each other's hand, like all of that sort of stuff. But I
Mhm.
just never wanted her to feel like I was trying to take something from her. And so I was like, is there something else out there that I could do a different system so she doesn't feel that way? And I ended up coming back to USOA just because the mission felt so aligned to who I am and how I show up in the world. So that ultimately ended up being where I settled, but it wasn't actually my plan initially.
That's wonderful advice, because there really is so many systems out there. A little bit about me. I originally was at United States was my first like Mrs. system I did. And I had a positive experience, and I tried another system, and I keep going back to Petite because I feel the same way. I'm like, okay, I found my pageant home. But
Uh,
you find a system that aligns with your values, and it clicks. And
yeah,
there's so many out there, so it's a great advice to do your research and see what feels like it aligns with you.
yes, for sure.
Well, I am so grateful that you made time. just anyone watching, I had to switch times on Sarah today. So thank you for your flexibility and your vulnerability today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me and for giving me and everybody else an opportunity like this. Like, I think this is great. And I would say the pressure, I've done other podcasts and YouTube interviews, and I would just say the lack of pressure that you put on people to do something like this is just refreshing, because sometimes people are like, you have to show up a certain way and do a certain thing. And it just felt like I was having a conversation with a friend. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you. That's what I wanted. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. I'm going to go to Cheese Fest now.
Oh, I love that. We
Here
are
in
going to watch.
Wisconsin.
We're going to watch the Belmont races. My daughter, little side note, not to drag this on, but my daughter actually moved to Kentucky. She works at Claiborne Farms, which breeds Kentucky Derby horses. She's living her best life
Wow.
and her dream. And so the farm she works at bred Golden Tempo, which was the Derby winner and is now racing in the Belmont Stakes. So I have to watch that and cheer for him because it's her farm. So
Yeah, you have to.
yeah, mom duties, right?
Yeah. Well, enjoy the race.
Yeah.
And I'll see you on social media and then I'll see you this fall because I'm going to come watch USOA.
Yay, awesome.
All right. See ya.
Bye.